Have you ever wanted to go back in time and revisit your favorite version of a game, or simply just play it for nostalgia? Most games, all you can do is think about the memories you have in the past of that game, or maybe even find an old video. Well, in Greenville, you can actually still play old versions. Greenville has all 4 major versions of the game, and a few others still open to play. Links are in the description to every version played in this video for you to play yourself, and I'll show you around each one. Well, beside the current and most recent one. First up, we have Greenville Beta version 1. And here's what it's like inside the game. Looks like it's in the winter map. It's kind of plain around here. There's not as many buildings as in current Greenville, but there is some different stuff as well. The UI is obviously a lot different. Your money's right here, and you start off with $1 million, which is quite a lot. I guess that's good, so we can buy a bunch of cars. On here you have this board. Right when you spawn, you can buy the game passes on this board, and you can do donations. There's a donators board, the amount that they've donated, and it just says welcome to Greenville, Wisconsin. If you use R15, you'll not be able to spawn in cars, which I think that's outdated because the game is set to R6 only now. Now let's check out the cars that are in the game. We have a bunch of cars here. At one point, cars didn't even work in this game, but I guess recently they started working again, although some of them don't work as well as others. Some of them are a little bit wobbly. There's actually a specific button for going in reverse instead of just pressing S or shifting into reverse. There's an actual button. You can press R, and that puts your car in reverse. This is actually kind of a cool feature, and it actually limits how fast you can go in reverse here at 50 miles per hour. J is for lights, but this car doesn't have any lights. E and Q are the blinkers, which is kind of interesting since now it's C and Z, and that's what I'm kind of used to. If you move the music thing out of the way, there's a couple buttons here. T to change views. The first view is just a little bit different of the normal view, and you can kind of zoom in and go into first person, which some of the cars did have interiors, so first person was an option. The interiors though, some cars are better than others, I'll say that. Credits here, the car unlocked and seat unlocked buttons, which I'm not really sure if they do anything since I don't have anybody to check if they do or not. And if you press T again, you have sort of a locked camera view, which at all times follows your car, no matter what direction you're facing. The snow is on the roads here, which is actually kind of a cool thing, and there's something that you can do with the snow, which I figured out in this version, which is actually really cool. Now there's just a bunch of trees here, right next to the parking lot where you spawn, by Cinex, and it's just like a little tiny building right here on a gravel road. Here are some of the classic buildings in the game. Subway and the Twist, which are obviously not the same as they are today, but it's the same general concept. The Twist wasn't elevated like it is currently, it was just on flat ground. And the Twist actually didn't have an interior in Greenville version 1 Beta. Over here coming to Subway, it actually looks pretty similar from what I can tell to how it does now. Subway really hasn't changed all that much at all. You can still get your chips from over here. There was no button for a sandwich here though. There were no houses over there. Also in the settings menu down here, you only have one setting, experimental motion blur, which I don't really know if that actually works or not. To flip your car, instead of having a button or having the car's auto flip, if you flip your car, there's actually a tool in your inventory that is just called flip. If you take it out, left click, it's gonna unflip your car, or it just kind of has the back go up in the air if you're not actually flipped over. Let's take a look at Cinex here. It looks relatively the same as it does now, just doesn't have an interior. If you are gonna play this version, don't expect it to be perfect. There are a lot of things broken with this version. So here we are at the 6 houses, and it's technically the 2 houses. They're the same as pretty much Greenville version 3 houses. This exact same house was still in Greenville version 3. I don't know if it was in the same location though. So there's also a little slot house neighborhood, like a private neighborhood for all the admins to put their own house. I can't go in here, but you can see there's a couple different houses, and there are some spaces reserved. Reserved for Best Ducky, reserved for Milk 7480. Now if you continue down here, it still has Wolf Bank, still has El Jarapio and Bulk Food Store, although there are no interiors. Toys for Trucks was also here, but it did not have an interior either. Now going over to, I guess, what's known as the Wolf Union neighborhood thing over here, you can see there are houses here, but it's not as populated as currently. There's just a couple houses here, some more houses down there. The train track is also right there too. Now going over to this side of the map, there's this little building here, max clearance, parking garage area right here. And if you come in here, there's a little computer here. There's a singular jail cell right here. The key actually turns, like it twists, when you open and close the door, so that's kind of cool. And if you come out here, there's just a little parking lot, and that's pretty much all for this building, which I'm not really entirely sure what it is. Now here at the roundabout we have McDonald's, which looks basically the exact same as it still does, on the inside anyway. The outside is a bit different. You can't actually get the burgers and fries in this version. You can't click on them and get them in your inventory, but they're here visually. In the paint shop over here, you can select your car color. I'm not entirely sure if this does work or not, but we'll find out. Oh, it does. Yeah, it changes your car color, and once you respawn your car, this changes back to how it originally was. So if I delete this, respawn it, it's going to be back to its original color. But the painting is free of charge, so you can really change your car however you want. And this was in the game up until Greenville version 2. Some cars also have secondary car colors, so I doubt this does, but we'll try to see if it does. No, doesn't look like it. So a cool feature is that the snow here that's on the roads in some places actually does have a purpose. And if you get the 2008 Ford F-350 with plow, which is the normal F-350 which was in the game up until Greenville version 3 without the plow. In this version of the game there was a version with the plow on it. And this plow actually works if you go into the areas with snow on the roads. So as you can see, it disappears. It's not perfect, but I think it's a cool concept, and I think it would be cool to see something like this come in the winter update for current Greenville, even if it's just a new trim of an existing pickup with a plow attached to it. Now here we are in Greenville version 2, which looks quite a bit more modern than Greenville version 1 did. You can see the graphics are quite updated, the map is a lot more full, and it is not in the winter map in this version either, like Greenville version 1 was. The leaderboard in front of where you spawn is still here. You can still purchase a tip, and you can still purchase game passes on the board, but the donator leaderboard was removed. It shows the changelog for the game on the leaderboard too. I guess in this version of Greenville version 2, Wolf Bank has recently been updated with an interior. Allen Insurance was added. New houses were added around the map. The subway drive-thru is widened. The team changer was added, which you can go right here, you can click on job/team, and you can look at this right here. The fire station was added, and credit union was added across from McDonald's. Here's how the UI looked in Greenville version 2, quite a bit better than Greenville version 1 in my opinion. You can click open vehicle, and it gives you a bunch of different options for vehicles to pick from. The normal vehicle store, which just has a bunch of normal vehicles. You can sell your current car, but I don't have one, so I can't. The VIP vehicles, which is another word for the luxury vehicles. The luxury pass is actually called VIP vehicles access in Greenville version 2. And the state patrol vehicles are also here as well, which you can click join team here. The job/team button right here you can press, you can change your team, but it doesn't teleport you anywhere. In the settings right here, you can disable street lights. I don't know if that's broken or not. You can reset your money, which I don't think was originally an option in Greenville version 2, but it was added since there is a bug in Greenville version 2 where your money does not save properly, and it could get to the point where you don't even have enough money to purchase another vehicle. And you can change UI scaling, small, medium, large. This is one of the versions where you could lift cars, so I guess I'll do that. The Twist now has an interior. Next to it, Allen Insurance was added, which did not have an interior at the time. And coming over to Subway, it was basically the exact same. Now coming over to the fire station and police station are currently, the fire station is here. It's quite plain. Greenville Volunteer Fire Department. It's not really too much to see in here. Where the daycare currently is-ish, there was an empty parking lot. The Cinex neighborhood wasn't built yet, but it was added later on in version 2. Now the 6 houses was actually the 8 houses, and the admin house neighborhood was still over there, but there were only 2 admin houses there at the time. Something pretty subtle, but the speed limit here used to be 80 instead of 55 like it is now. Here's Credit Union, mostly the same as it is today, just with a different interior. But I think that is changing soon. They are going to be adding a revamped version of Credit Union soon to current Greenville. McDonald's looks roughly the same, but you could get your food now instead of just seeing it visually. The paint shop car wash thing was still the same as it was in Greenville version 1. You could change the color by selecting it, and there you go, your car's painted. Now coming over to the Wolf River neighborhood, I guess as people call it, it looked quite a bit different than it does now, how it did in GB3, which I kind of like this layout, honestly. It looks pretty nice. Now this is probably one of the coolest areas in Greenville version 2 in my opinion. A small off-road trail / course that was later removed. One like this but a lot bigger and more detailed was originally made for the current revamp, but I'm not entirely sure what ever happened to it as it was never added into the final version of the revamp that was released. Hopefully one day though we will see something like this in Greenville again. Now here we are in Greenville version 3, the original release of Greenville version 3. The game was a lot more modern, even though the map was debatably worse than Greenville version 2. A lot of stuff was actually removed. And the map overall was a bit less detailed, but over time Greenville version 3 definitely worked up to be quite a lot more than what it was originally released as. Now the UI originally was a thing that you had to hover over here. It says hover over here to access the main menu, so you'd put your mouse and you go to the left over here, and this UI would pop out instead of just being a normal button that you could press. In settings you had post effects, which changed the graphics a little bit. As you can kind of see, there is with it enabled and with it disabled. Right here where you spawned, it said go to the front desk to buy a car, so that's where you go. You come into the old Greenville version 3 dealership, which was actually pretty nice. It was a simple dealership, not like the giant dealership we have now. And I think it was honestly a good dealership. The employees only room, which was just a computer. We got some cubicles over here, and step in front of this desk to buy a vehicle. And here's the old dealership UI. You got your different categories. It was pretty simple to find the car, but you also couldn't search like you can currently in current Greenville. Now up here on the top, it had currently the day that it was, and the weather, and the temperature that changes, which I think you saw. It did change a second ago. And if you press weather, it shows in more detail what the weather is. In Greenville version 2, you had to sell your vehicle every time you left the game, otherwise you wouldn't get any money back at all, since cars didn't save. But in Greenville version 3, you could actually keep your vehicles when you left the game. The 6 houses were finally the 6 houses. There were actually 6 houses here, not 8 or 2. And the admin house area in this neighborhood was removed. The Cinex / Greenville Cafe place did not have an interior in original Greenville version 3, but over here, the Cinex neighborhood was added, but there was no school over here yet. Kind of subtle, but the twist was finally elevated, and Allen Insurance was given an interior. There were also houses added here in this neighborhood, but it was only a couple houses at the start. The fire station was moved over here for a small period of time, and then it was just moved back to where it was in Greenville version 2. Same fire department as Greenville version 2, as you can see. Next is Greenville Beta version 3.5, also known as the Greenville Beta testing server, which is what this game slot is named. This is probably my favorite version of Greenville version 3. Before the retune update that in my opinion made some cars drive worse, before Darker Nights were removed, but also after some cool things were added into the game that were on a release of Greenville version 3. The unfortunate thing about this version is that it doesn't really work properly. All of a sudden one day the game just stopped working. The options in the in-game menu don't change anything, my money nor cars are loading, the dealership UI doesn't open, and occasionally the game just crashes. Hopefully it gets fixed soon. Now for the last, still open, older version of Greenville, which probably needs no introduction for a lot of you, is the final release version of Greenville Beta version 3. The version right before the current revamp came out and changed a ton of the game. I'm not going to go over this version since most of you probably already know what this version is like. If not, or if you just want to play it anyway, there's a link in the description to this game, as with the rest of the versions in this video. There's actually a decent amount of players that still play at this time, a couple filled servers at almost all times, surprisingly, although that could change in the future. None of your stats transfer to any other versions of Greenville in this game, and that applies to all versions in this video. You start fresh in all of them, although I think most game passes still work on older versions of the game, though I'm not sure if the new Supercar luxury passes do since they weren't included in any versions of the game before the current one. I hope you enjoyed this video, have a great day.